It's 2017. Golden Globe week is here already, and we hit the ground running with talking about the Golden Globe film categories. Lots of drama and potential upsets and surprises, I think, this year. We've got Tom O'Neill, our founder, with us. He's up in New York. Daniel Montgomery is also in New York, and Marcus Dixon's here in Los Angeles. Let's start with the film drama category. I was just writing an article that I'll post later today, and it really seems like a horse race between Manchester by the Sea and Moonlight, at least according to all of our experts and users and everybody else. Daniel, what do you think about that race?
That's the toughest race of the night. It's one of those weird years where La La Land, which we'll talk about later, is seems like such an Oscar front runner. But it's almost like these two films have been jockeying for second place in the whole Oscar race. So now without La La Land here, we have to decide which one is actually stronger. I'm going with Moonlight very kind of hesitantly, but I'm just kind of playing the math here. Manchester by the Sea got one fewer nomination. And it's in a pivotal category that I think it should have gotten, supporting actor for Lucas Hedges. So I'm giving Moonlight a very, very slight edge on that basis alone.
Marcus?
I keep coming back to last year when everyone thought Spotlight would win this category, and it ended up being The Revenant. So, we could be in for a huge shocker for, maybe a Hacksaw Ridge, which of these five was my favorite. But like Daniel, I have Moonlight in the #1 slot, and I think that has more to do with Manchester's a fantastic movie, but it's very depressing, and in this this post 2016 world that we live in, where everyone kind of ended that year depressed and mopey, Moonlight is the uplifting film of the two. Manchester kind of brings you down, so that's why I have Moonlight #1. I could be wrong, but I probably am wrong. It's going to be Lion, right?
Well, Tom, break the tie there. Oh, no, not break the tie. They both say Moonlight.
Well, it's going to be a movie that's nominated for Best Director. So Manchester and Moonlight and Hacksaw are the three that are nominated for Director among these five. So throw out the other two. I don't think Moonlight is going to win. I think this is going to be a fascinating case this year of where we're going to find out how hip and color-friendly the Globes are, because right now Moonlight it's got very good odds to win Best Film here at the Globes, and Atlanta, this rap, very urban African-American based show, is favored to win according to our odds on the TV side at the Globes. And so these aren't typical Globe-friendly kind of shows, so it'll be interesting to see if they go for it. Our Latilis at Gold Derby seem to think they will. I think in my case, I'm betting on Manchester by the Sea for now, but I am I don't think Moonlight can win. I think it's Manchester or Hacksaw. And the question is, are we going to see the resurrection of Mel Gibson at the Globes? Remember, it was on that stage in 1995, actually January 96, where Mel Gibson just suddenly emerged into the Oscar race with Braveheart, a movie that had no awards pedigree at that point. And then suddenly he wins there, and that gave enough momentum for the movie to end up pulling off these big Oscar upsets. And now, of course, it's a story of redemption if Hollywood is ready to forgive him. And the Globes love to put on a great show, and there's nothing better than seeing Mel up there groveling for forgiveness, I guess, if you want to get all theatrical about the situation. So anyway, that could happen. If that Mel story plays out on the drama side, then Hacksaw wins here. But right now, my pecking order would be Manchester, Hacksaw, Moonlight.
I think Mel is going to win Director. That's one of my limbs I'm out on. That I think allows them not to have to give it to him, not to give it to the film necessarily for Best Film. Remember, of all the groups over the years, especially when Mel was at his lowest, the Globes would invite him to come on and be made fun of by Ricky Gervais, and he would come and do it. And they like him a lot, even beyond the Braveheart win that you mentioned. So I think he's got Director locked up. It's kind of a group of sort of unknowns to the public in terms of the Director other than Mel Gibson. So I think that plays in his favor as well. But I'm so 50-50 on the picture. remember, one of the producers on Manchester who would get to be on stage, maybe make the speech, is Matt Damon. You know, they love their stars. He just won last year for The Martian. Brad Pitt's one of the executive producers on Moonlight, but he might be there with them, but he doesn't physically win an award since he's an executive producer. My gut feeling is Moonlight is going to win picture, and that gives them the right to give Manchester screenplay. They love to spread the wealth.
They do. Wow.
What about a lot of people are predicting Casey Affleck from Manchester to win drama actor. You had your video last night, Tom, that you posted where Tarek from Fox News thinks Denzel's going to get on a path here to win. Is it between those two men?
Yes, and I haven't officially changed to Denzel yet, but I'm going to switch. Last year, Denzel won or was given the honorary Cecil B. DeMille Award, and that may mean to the average voter's mind, oh, been there, done that. We took care of him, so we need to move on. You could look at it that way, or you could look at it the opposite way, and that is they love this man so much they gave him that award last year, and now here's a new chance. Denzel gives the big, emotionally flashy, bombastic performance in a drama that is considered a work of important literature in the American canon. And this is a movie for the ages. Fences was successfully transferred to the silver screen by this immensely talented team. And so it deserves to be in that pantheon. And so does Denzel deserve to now be Oscar bound and become one of just a handful of men who have won 3, which is the most, and those are Daniel Day-Lewis and Jack Nicholson and Walter Brennan, of all people. But to do that, he first needs to win the Globe, I think. And he is the superstar. He is the A-lister. He is that epitome of Globe beloved icon that I'm now beginning to think that this whole Casey Affleck thing might be a case of, and it happens all the time in these awards, where the Critics Awards anoint the same person, and all of a sudden that person gets dropped, and Jean Dujardin wins at the Globes and goes on to win the Oscar.
I have a question for you, Chris. Do you think the fact that Denzel winning the Cecil B. DeMille Award last year, does that maybe hurt him because he was just on the stage a year ago? Voters do at the Globes like to, anoint new people like a Casey Affleck. So maybe the fact that Denzel was just there is not a positive.
I don't sense it as a positive or a negative. We haven't really, oftentimes, by the time somebody wins that award, they're not really getting into the competitive race a whole lot more after that. So I don't know that we've seen it too often where a person had that opportunity. I would say in Tom's defense here, we're talking less than 100 people, 85 to 90 people voting. They can totally be swayed by charm. And I mean, Denzel has really been pumping it. He had a special day on his Fences junket just for Hollywood Foreign Press. Casey's Casey's just not that kind of person. I mean, he's not Mr. Charm and personality. I'm torn. They also like to predict the Oscars, and everything, all the tea leaves point toward Casey winning the Oscars. So they may go with Casey just because they want to be on that train. Right now, I've got Casey, but I have been saying Denzel for weeks at the Oscars, thinking he would win at SAG, and that would push him over. So, Daniel, what do you think?
I've got Casey, and I've got Casey until I see something that would sway me otherwise. I think Denzel is helped by it's a flashier performance. It's the kind the Oscars usually like better. And not only does the Hollywood Foreign Press like him, he also directed himself in this performance, which is something that I'm sure they're not going to forget when considering this performance. But I'm a little bit more concerned by the fact that they didn't like the film enough to nominate Denzel for directing it, or the screenplay, or for best drama picture. It's just Denzel and Viola. So it makes me wonder, and I'm pretty sure we'll get to that, but I'm pretty sure Viola has supporting actress probably locked up. So yeah, I'm a little bit more concerned with that. And with Manchester, I feel like Casey Affleck is the kind of, like, you know, especially at the Oscars, but here too, if it's not your best picture, then he's someone you rally around. He's that, you know, okay, he's, you know, we're giving it best actor, or we're giving it best screenplay. We don't have to give it best picture, that sort of thing. So I just feel like it's all going Casey Affleck's way right now, and Tom's right that does change. A lot of times the critics say one thing and everybody else says another. But I'm going Casey Affleck until I see otherwise.
Everybody here has Natalie winning drama actress, and there's not really any confusion on that, right?
No one else need apply.
Comedy picture, musical. Well, actually, it's comedy musical, even more musical this year with La La Land. I think everybody knows that that's going to win there. I don't even know that the other four are even close. Emma Stone winning comedy musical actress. I think that's a pretty done deal. The question I have is, they do like to spread the wealth. La La Land really could win 7 awards. I mean, it's either the front runner or maybe in second place in say 6 out of the 7. And that's why I think if you assume it's winning picture and for Emma and for score, they start looking at other routes. And I think the guy to look for here might not be Ryan Gosling, but might be Ryan Reynolds. Another person that is really making the rounds. His PR campaign in the past month has been unbelievable. He's Entertainer of the Year with Entertainment Weekly. He got on the Critics' Choice Award stage 3 times. He got his Hollywood Walk of Fame star. He's very charming. And you throw all that in together with the fact that Ryan Gosling hasn't been around at all because he's off shooting Blade Runner. And I'm picking Ryan Reynolds at this point.
Be wary of that, because last year I thought Amy Schumer would win for Trainwreck over Jennifer Lawrence, and they ended up going with the movie star who had the most Oscar potential, which was Jennifer Lawrence.
Right.
Even though Amy Schumer seemed to fit in this bubble that you're saying that Ryan Reynolds is. And I don't know, I'm worried about that, Chris. I think you're going to miss an easy one here by not going with Gosling.
I think if it's not Gosling, I think it's Hugh Grant. I think he embodies the new movie star who has an absolute. I just watched it again the other day. Florence, whatever it is, Foster Higgins. My God, or Jenkins. It is really a charming little movie, and he steals the whole film. Just he's so sly and
well, remember, they thought so much of him in this role that they refused to put him in supporting, as every other group was encouraged to do, and moved him into lead. So that happened with Catherine Zeta-Jones, remember, with Chicago way back. Right. So, you know, I hadn't thought about him as much, and he won. He gave one of the all-time great Golden Globe speeches for 4 Weddings and a Funeral. He and I talked about that on a chat. Just so funny and charming up on stage. So,
well, what did he do?
He basically didn't thank all the people in the movie. He got up there and was, I do not wish to thank the producer so-and-so because he didn't help me at all in this regard. And I do not wish to thank the director because, you know, he just really, it was very funny. Meanwhile, getting everybody's name in there, not thanking them all. Yeah, Hugh Grant could do it. I mean, I could see that. And Florence is really picking up steam in terms of possibly being a multiple nominee at the Oscars.
Ryan Gosling has lost 3 or 4 times already. He's never won a Globe. And so he keeps getting nominated and keeps getting sidestepped. And literally that could happen with his dance movie this year.
But I am worried about the La La Land sweep. I don't think the Globes do not like to give, you know, 1 million trophies to one movie. I even talked to someone who's working on the campaign, and he said, you know, we're not going to win everything. We're going to win a lot, but we're not going to win every single category. So maybe a Hugh Grant upset is in the making here.
I think they're going to top out at 3 to 4, which is another reason why I look past Damien, who might win the Oscar for director, you know, for Mel Gibson. I just feel like they're not going to win more than 3 or 4, and I think 3 are locked up.
Well, you know, I haven't yet talked to some of the consultants for the HFPA. I'm going to be doing that today, and I'll reveal what I find out there. But I think that we are looking at all of these races just right. But
Daniel, did you have a pick there on actor?
I'm going with Gosling. I'm sort of playing it safe with those. I don't think La La Land will win everything, but it happens. The most awarded film at the Golden Globes, films at the Golden Globes are One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and if I'm getting the second one right, Midnight Express. They both won 6. There have been a couple of others that won 5. The way it kind of plays out in a lot of these categories, it might just be lucky enough to have the
But
right
that was
category.
they weren't. That was way back, and they are under a lot more pressure now by the studios to spread the wealth. I mean, they really want to make all of these studios, all of these producers happy in some regard or another. So I'm very. I would rather go Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Grant than even Ryan Gosling, who I would put in third.
Yeah, I've got Hugh Grant in my number 2 spot, but I do have La La Land winning those top 3. Yeah, and another, for me playing it safe a little bit. If La La Land doesn't win 5 or 6, if it only wins 3 or 4, we might be wrong about which 3 or 4. So if I predict it in most, I'll get most of them.
I love that strategy. It's great.
Just keep picking it.
And by the way, I saw Ryan Reynolds when he got his star, and I told him, Gold Derby, you're number 2 in our predictions overall, behind Ryan Gosling. And he goes, yeah, but the bar between 1 and 2 is pretty high. So even Ryan Reynolds doesn't think that he's winning.
He got into picture sort of surprisingly, Deadpool.
Yes.
So anyway, I'm going to debate it. You've really given me some food for thought on Hugh Grant. I'm not picking Ryan Gosling. That's just not. They're not going to win that many awards.
Here's the thing. I'm sort of wondering. Let's say it wins 4. I don't think it has a shot at screenplay. And director, you're very right. It could be very vulnerable there. So that brings it down to 5. What if, they have 2 music categories. It's probably going to win best score in a walk. What if they decide best song? Okay, here, let's give it to Lin-Manuel Miranda or Justin Timberlake to get them on our stage.
Yeah, I don't think it's winning song.
Right, I agree.
So that brings it 4. So I think that's a reasonable total for a Golden Globes winner, even if they want to spread the wealth a bit.
Right. Yeah. I could see that. I've got it winning 3. Well, who do you have, just real quick, and we'll do supportings, on song? I always find that category fascinating at the Globes because quite often that winner doesn't even get nominated at the Oscars. And they often go with a star. Does Justin Timberlake take this? Or does another entertainer of the year with AP, Lin-Manuel Miranda, take it? He's very, very hot these days.
I have Lin-Manuel winning. I changed that just today, actually. But Justin Timberlake is very hard not to vote for if you're a Globes voter and you want someone on your stage who people will be talking about. But of course, that's Lin-Manuel as well. He had the best year in 2016, and Hamilton will never be nominated at the Globes unless they make a movie out of it. So if they want Lin-Manuel to be a Golden Globe winner, this is their probably one and only chance.
Yeah, I might be swayed to that position too. I have like I said, I've had La La Land in a lot of these categories by default. I might switch to how far I go because they didn't even nominate the better song from La La Land. So
that's my problem with it. Yeah, with that City of Stars song is so annoying. Oh.
So the fact that they're going to be able to give Justin Hurwitz best score already, and if it's Lin-Manuel or Justin Timberlake, I think it's much more likely Lin-Manuel. First of all, talk about making studios happy. That will make Disney happy. They're also probably going to win best animated for Zootopia or Moana potentially. But yeah, that'll make Disney happy too. And yeah, I think of those films, I think of those songs, How Far I'll Go, probably more likely than Can't Stop the Feeling from Trolls.
And what about the 2 supporting races? Are they pretty set with Mahershala Ali and Viola Davis? They love children that grew up in the industry. Not that he's a child anymore, but Jeff Bridges is intriguing to me. A very personable guy. But I go back to the fact that they really, if somebody's really submitted as a front runner at the Oscars, they like to get on that track and say how great they are at predicting the Oscars. So it seems like to me those two would win.
But on the other hand, Chris, if this is a case of where Moonlight is really just a critics movie and not the big Oscar player it's touted to be, then this is where we find out. This is where it trips up, because it doesn't translate to the foreign journalists the way it resonates with the American journalists, the critics, etc. And this is where we'd find out. In other words, the Mahershala Ali bandwagon that has blasted through the Derby so far would suddenly come to a crashing halt here. And I think Dev Patel is the likely beneficiary here, because this is Harvey's big only movie here. He's got the Glory song over in the song category, despite what Tariq Khan said, that's not going to win. And so they love Harvey, and when you talk to the HFPA members, they do say things like, well, this is how we can take care of Harvey over here. And that often comes up in conversation. So I think all of a sudden they look at this and go, nah, that Moonlight stuff is more the blogosphere, cineasts. This we give to Harvey. I could see that happening here.
And Lion is up for Best Picture, so they like the movie a lot.
Good point. Good point.
Well, sometimes the Golden Globes do sometimes think like the critics. Like when we get the change of trajectory, it usually comes after the Globes, where the industry comes in. Remember, they were on the Social Network bandwagon, they were on the Boyhood bandwagon, and those tripped up later. So I don't think they would necessarily rebut the critics here. Although I do think, I think Dev Patel probably is his closest challenger.
And that's somebody they've watched. They love watching people grow up in the industry. They've been following him since Slumdog, and he's an international star. So I hadn't thought about Dev as much, but that you may be right, Marcus.
I'm going to go with Mahershala Ali, just because I think he's winning the Oscar, and I like to look backwards. And if you're going to win the Oscar, that means you're probably going to win SAG. You're probably going to win the Globe, and he just won the Critics' Choice 2 weeks ago. And real quick about Viola, she's never won a Golden Globe, has she?
No.
This would be her very first time, and oddly enough, she's not up for How to Get Away with Murder anymore. So I think that one's a lock. If we're talking about, what do you guys think?
Yes, she cannot lose. There's no way.
Could that be Harvey's? Nicole Kidman. That's a favorite of theirs.
Yeah, but that's not.
Kate Winslet won last year, another favorite of theirs, and that was kind of a surprise.
That was a surprise. You're right.
Snowden, yes.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. I'm sorry. That's right.
Well, any final thoughts on film before we tackle a TV slugfest?
Comedy races seem pretty locked up, I think, at least, and the drama ones is where all the drama is actually going to be happening.
All right, guys. Have a fun week, and we will see if we're right this weekend.
Thanks, Chris.